There's no denying it. Sting is one of the most talented, intelligent, and successful musicians in rock history. From fronting the Police to his long solo career, he sold millions of records, filled stadiums around the world, and earned universal respect for his songwriting and musicianship. But behind that calm voice, poetic lyrics, and polished charm lies a personality that many in the music world have found hard to deal with. Because while fans see him as a spiritual, sophisticated artist, several musicians who've worked with him describe him as arrogant, controlling, and sometimes impossible to collaborate with. So today, we're diving into the other side of the story, the 5 musicians who reportedly couldn't stand working with Sting. Let's begin. 5. Stewart Copeland. Let's start with the most obvious. Stewart Copeland, the powerhouse drummer of the Police. Now, Copeland and Sting made some of the greatest hits of the late 70s and early 80s. Roxanne, Message in a Bottle, Every Breath You Take. But behind the scenes, the tension between them was legendary. Their fights were so explosive that even studio engineers had to separate their instruments just to keep them from physically attacking each other. Stewart once admitted that recording sessions would often end in shouting matches. He described Sting as a monstrous control freak who constantly criticized everyone else's playing. At one point, Stewart was so furious that he called Sting's bass playing lame, and Sting fired back by calling Stewart a hyperactive child with sticks, even during rehearsal. The Police's massive reunion tour in 2007, the tension returned. Stewart told reporters later, "It was like getting back with an ex-wife. Exciting at first, but you remember why you left." Despite their musical chemistry, their personal relationship has always been volatile, a creative partnership built on genius and frustration in equal measure. For Andy Summers, next up, Andy Summers, the guitar magician who gave the Police their unique sound. Andy was the quiet one in the band, but that doesn't mean he didn't clash with Sting. He's admitted that Sting's ego could fill an arena. During the recording of Synchronicity in 1983, Sting reportedly refused to let Andy play certain guitar parts, instead bringing in session players or doing it himself. Andy once said in an interview, "It was like living with a dictator. He wanted everything his way." The breaking point came when Sting started rewriting everyone's parts and taking sole credit for songs that had been group efforts. After the Police split up, Andy and Sting rarely spoke for years. Andy's autobiography even describes Sting as brilliant but insufferable. While they reunited for tours, insiders said Andy did it for the fans, not because he wanted to work with Sting again. 3. Elvis Costello. Now this one might surprise you. Elvis Costello, another legend from the late 70s punk and new wave era. Costello and Sting both rose to fame around the same time, but their personalities couldn't have been more different. Elvis was raw, sarcastic, and punk-spirited. Sting was polished, intellectual, and, as Costello once joked, too busy saving the rainforests to rock and roll. In interviews, Costello mocked Sting's world music phase, saying he wants to be the Dalai Lama with a bass guitar. Sting, not one to stay quiet, responded by calling Costello a clever cynic who hides behind irony. The two have shared stages at benefit concerts, but insiders claim they avoided each other backstage. It wasn't about jealousy. It was about two massive egos who simply didn't see the world the same way. Costello saw Sting as pretentious. Sting saw Costello as smug, and that's a feud that's lasted decades. 2. Noel Gallagher. Ah yes, Noel Gallagher of Oasis. If there's one man who never holds back his opinion, it's Noel, and he hates Sting. In multiple interviews, Noel has roasted Sting for being, in his words, a pompous millionaire preaching about saving the planet from his castle. He once said, "I can't take a lecture on world hunger from a guy who owns 5 mansions and charges a fortune for concert tickets." Noel even took a shot at Sting's personality, saying he has the face of a man who's never laughed in his life. Now, Sting never publicly responded, but friends of his say he was aware of Noel's comments and privately called him a loudmouth who confuses sarcasm with depth. It's the classic clash of generations, the socially conscious intellectual versus the working-class rebel. and neither man had any interest in pretending to like the other. 1. Paul Weller, finally the top spot. Paul Weller, frontman of The Jam and one of Britain's most respected musicians. You'd think two legendary songwriters from the same era might get along. But no, Paul Weller has been openly critical of Sting for years. He's accused Sting of being too corporate, saying that the Police became the establishment instead of staying true to their roots. In one interview, Weller said, "Sting's the kind of guy who'd write a protest song and then sell it to an ad company." Ouch. Sting, on the other hand, once hinted that Weller was just bitter because he didn't achieve the same global success. Their tension isn't about personal history, it's about philosophy. Weller sees music as rebellion. Sting sees it as evolution. But for Weller, that evolution looked a lot like selling out.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.